Hey y'all, this is just going to be an unscripted video about all of Millia's mix because doing a full scripted one was taking way too long. So let's get right into it with 2D disc, which is Millia's best mix-up option really. So the basic layer one is that you can cross up with an air dash, or you can delay your air dash to stay same side. And you want to delay both air dashes to make it as ambiguous as you possibly can. Now if you're very far out, like this far out, then delaying this air dash will actually trigger crosser protection, so in those cases you'll either go for an immediate air dash, which is a bit easier to react to, or something like a turbo fall if you're like a little bit closer, because this will actually crosser properly. From here, there's some more layers you can do. I'm just going to set the dummy to block. So the basic layer here is you can do an air dash back into JH, or just a land 2k. You can also do an FDC to make yourself fall faster and change the timing slightly. And you can also do a land 2s instead, which is higher reward, but maybe a bit easier for your opponent to react to. Some people get hit by this, some people don't. Also an advantage, something that's nice, is that if you go for this and they get hit, you still just pick up a combo. If they get hit by this when you go for the JH though, it can actually be quite tricky to not accidentally hit the opponent. I'll show doing it wrong. Because of the hurtbox changes, especially if you're air dashing from further out, this becomes quite challenging to not hit the opponent by accident. It's like a 2 or 3 frame window, so just be aware of that. Another thing you can do instead of the air dash back JH is to do JPP like that instead. You can also do as an additional layer on that, something like that. But you have to FTC both dashes to make it gapless. You can do the same side as well. Just do the same side air dash into that. And this side you have to do JPP. The second JP hits the same frame as the 2k, but as you can see, if they FD it, the situation's not great. And in general, this same side mix is not as powerful, just because the disc is pushing them away. So if they block, you're not as plus. Whereas by comparison, if they block this because the disc pushed them into you, you're still +8 and in a decent position, even if they FD. The other layer that you're going to see a lot more commonly these days is using a weird property of Millia's disc to do this JD same side. So basically, whenever Millia does disc, if you hold FD out of it, she falls a bit slower. Whereas if you press a button, she falls a bit quicker. Let me just do that one with a button. So basically what you can do is normally if you do disc into JD on someone who's waking up, this won't actually hit them in time. But you can hold FD into it and then hit them in time like that. Manually JD. I put this one a bit later because this is a 2 frame window, so it's a little bit tricky to get down. But to make this ambiguous with the low, because you can just do this into a low and that hits meaty, but obviously they can just react to the FD flash, right? From the JD. So what you do is you start up an attack and then immediately FD out of it. Because FD is just 2 buttons, right? So you can basically plink 2 buttons to get FD like that. What happens if you do this from disc is you get the fast fall, but you get the FD bubble. So what happens is if an opponent reacts to the FD bubble, if I get it right, is you will actually just still fall and get a low. Now note that if you actually do this with like perfect execution, which I probably will not get right now, you can actually do this so fast that the 2k hit the last active frame there, but it's possible to get this so fast the 2k actually does not come out in time. So rather the 2k comes out too quickly and they will not get hit by it. But your execution has to be like, you have to be like incredibly good at your execution to get this by accident, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. So yeah, just to recap, basically, after this, you can either go for a meaty high, a meaty low, a left-right, with air dashes. Then after the air dashes, you can do another layer as well. Now, one thing that's actually quite powerful against disc, especially this version, is Gold Burst. Because if you do this, I just get Gold Bursted. If I do this, I get Gold Bursted. Basically, all of these layers lose to Gold Burst. But because burst is a projectile, if you air block it, you can be plus. So if you have a hard read on Gold Burst, first of all, you can just obviously do like this and let it whiff and then kill them. But you can also do something like this. And this will actually let you punish Gold Burst if you FDC both air dashes. So this is something to be aware of if the opponent is representing Gold Burst on Wake Up against the disc. Last thing I want to cover, 2k 2D disc is plus 50, whereas something like this is actually plus 48. That means we can get some unique mixes by doing Mirage into disc. So, for example, let me just make sure I can get it. That Capel hits same side, despite the fact it really does not look like it should. And the cross-up option there is just do a delay JH meeting on the other side. This is quite powerful, but you can pretty much only get it from like Capel hits on standing opponents, which you'll get if you like hit someone 6p or whatever. But just as something to keep in the back pocket. I almost forgot the actual last option for real this time. I mentioned Turbo Fall. After Turbo Fall, another layer you can do is another Turbo Fall. This just hits pretty much everyone, to be honest. And against people who are reacting to Turbo Fall, because this Turbo Fall is a 23 frame reaction, you can cancel it into Capel. And this is basically unblockable against people who are really good. This hits Tiger Paw pretty much every single time because they can't stop reacting to Turbo Fall because they're too good. So yeah, this is something to do against good players. Okay, moving on to Throw Disc. Now this is one of the most important things to understand about Millia. This disc is not meaty, okay? So what this means is if I try to do all the same mix-ups as before, they can just jump out of the disc, right? Which means you have to lock them in place with a JH. But as you can see, they still blocked there despite pressing jump. It's because they're fuzzy jumping, they're doing a delay jump. So what people will do against disc after throw is they will block the disc and then press jump. That way they can block the JH and still jump out of the disc. So what you will do is from the JH, you will do mix-up options. So you can do 2k, you can do air dash it into a 2k, you can do air dash into JPP. In particular, the air dash FDC 2k option, this hits basically everyone if they don't understand Millia. So I would go for that as your layer 1. It's often a good way to scout the opponent's level of knowledge. You can also do things like JP in the 2k, and because JP has lower hit stop, the disc will actually launch off this. This is good for catching their fuzzy timings. You can do delay JK into JD, which also is just another way to catch on to weird fuzzy timings. There's also stuff like super jump in Sol Disc, where basically, oh my god, I can't do it. If you just input like a TK H disc effectively, you will you'll end up slightly higher, which means you can do JHJD. The advantage of this too, as well, if they're fuzzy jumping, you can often delay your JH to target that, like so. That'll catch the jump startup. If they're delaying their jump like a lot, then you can do super jump and solid disc to delay your JH even more. However, notably, all of this is a safe jump, and you can OS the air dashes behind it as well by just inputting the dash and then going back to back. I say if I get it right. Like this, that'll, if they don't DP, you'll air dash and still get to do all your mix. But on super jump and solid disc, this is not a safe jump anymore. Also notably, because everyone does this when they panic, this is also not only safe to gold bursts, but the disc will actually punish that gold burst. And you can do the same air dash thing I mentioned before. However, if they wire C here, and you input your air dashes, then you're one frame off being safe to wire C. So to bait wire C, you will have to do something like just that, or in a jump as well, and get a punish like that. So yeah, that's the mid-screen options from Throw Disc. There's also corner options using Capel. This one's quite powerful. So after Capel, and because the disc locks them in place, you can do JPP or just 2k. And the second JP and the 2k hit at the same frame. So the only way the opponent can block this is by doing delay deflect shield, which most people don't do. But also, one thing that's quite powerful about this is if they try to deflect shield the first layer, Capel doesn't give a shit about deflect shield. Whereas by comparison, if they deflect shield this JH, you're 100 miles away. This also applies to IBFD, by the way. IBFD is a very powerful layer against this first JH. Here's some other options off throw for mid-screen that you can do, which are left-rights that don't involve disc. So the most common one is a dash jump. where you want to dash for at least 2 frames. I somehow missed twice in a row. I got the frame for one twice, and then do an air dash back into JH. And depending on when you air dash back, basically, and how long your micro dash is, and all those sorts of things, you can determine the side of it, which is very, very difficult to react to. This one also has the advantage where you can empty land with a 2S. The 2S is manually timed to beat meaty, but yeah. I quite like this option. Also, it means you can, you know, just empty land and throw again if you want to, that kind of stuff. The option's quite good, but if they backdash or guess correctly, or if they just generally block, the pressure's not incredible, especially on the same side option, because they're quite far away afterwards, compared to the safety of disc pressure. However, the reward on these is quite high, because JH starters are better than disc starters, or like 2K, 2D or whatever, and it's also a lot harder to see, in my opinion. Another option I quite like is this 5p frame kill option. So you do throw, and then a 5p, and then a super jump IAD, and depending on when you press the JH, is what determines the side. So if you do like an earlier JH, you'll cross up like that, and if you do a delay JH, you'll stay same side. This is completely unseeable. You can OS backdashes with it, and also you get a full combo into /1 with 2H on hit, which is quite powerful, all things considered. But you do lose the option of 2S that the dash jump one has. Also, in prior versions, this used to not work on everyone, but now it does thanks to the hitbox changes. So yeah, I personally like this one a lot, and I would recommend it. The last version of, like, I guess, canned mix to go over is from Bad Moon, where in this version of Strive, if you're high enough up and do Bad Moon, you'll land here at about +42. Now, the spacing does minutely change depending on when the Bad Moon hit. You can also do things like hit later hits of Bad Moon to get different frame advantages. So that's like an enormous amount of variations to go over. So to keep it very simple, I'm going to go over what happens if you hit the kind of Bad Moon I did right there, which is just a normal Bad Moon that hits high up and is +42 at around this spacing. The spacing is nearly always the same, so the ones that are like vastly different, those are outliers I would worry about on their own. So after this option, I'm going to show from discs. That's a pretty common one to get, as it's just like a basic combo. Let me turn off the blocking as well. So we get a disc knockdown, we do this, and then you can do 8, just neutral jump, and then air dash over them and press JD. And this hits cross up, even though it looks like it's going to hit same side. This will hit everyone as a layer 1, especially at this point in the game when people aren't as familiar with the new Millia stuff. Then the over mix-up, as you would expect, is just 7 into JD. Depending on the spacing, there's actually swaps, like the 8 will stay same side, which is very nice to have, but again, that's just the spacing being kind of weird. If they're reacting to the tail of the jump, what you can do is 8 super jump, sorry, 8 regular jump, and then FDC, or with a button like JP, and then just land and close slash. Now you can see that this wasn't quite meaty. They can throw this, but they have to react to the whiff button and then press throw. And you can also just catch that with a 2P if you really want to. So I wouldn't worry about that too much as well. And then last layer that I use is the same but with a 9 jump. Now, there's probably some people who are watching this who are pointing at the screen going, hey Scarfell, isn't that bad because they could like backdash the JD and then kill you, or they could throw the CS? And like, yes, these ones are definitely riskier to go for. I think that other people are often doing things involving a delayed JH air dash or a delayed super jump air JH. But to be quite honest, I play on controller, so doing a delayed 9 or delayed 7 input without going through like 6 or 4 first is really, really hard for me. So these are the versions that I use. I very rarely get punished for them, and they're very high success rate. But this is also the part of Millia's mix-up game that is the least explored and the least, I guess, set in stone. So what I would say is, for now, this is what I do, but if I get around to making a full video, I will probably have refined it more and come up with a better idea of what exactly to do, so take this part with a grain of salt, but for now, these are working very well for me. Okay, so let's talk about some resets. Now here, there are simply way too many options for me to get into in this video, but I'll show some examples of what I mean. So after like a lot of knockdowns, Millia can do this kind of thing, where she resets into a turbo fall, and depending on a whole bunch of different factors, it will left-right, basically. So in that one that I just showed, the factor was whether I did 8 or a 9 jump. But depending on whether you delay the JK and where you delay the JK, you can actually get that to same side with a forward jump, or cross up with an 8 jump and that kind of thing. You can actually get these sorts of resets off most starters. I'm personally going to go over to my good friend pre-recorded Millia to show off these ones. So off like a 2k disc starter, you can do 2 close slashes and still get into the left-right. So this one, it's a case of whether you delay the turbo fall, and doing like a 9 versus 8 jump after, as the double jump after the JD there. There is a double jump after JD, which may not be obvious. After close slash here, you can do close slash 1 and then do similar kind of thing. If you decide not to cash out on your close slash and want to go into more mix for whatever reason. So yeah, here's some left rights. That's some left rights you can do off that. But Scarfell, I hear you cry. What about the corner? I'm just going to break the wall when I do all of these. They had so much corner carry. And while that is true, fortunately Millia can steal the corner. So for example, off a disc hit like this, I can just do a couple of Gatlings, and then steal the corner like that. And this is actually true mix, because if you press a button on the way down, even at the last possible second, for some reason Millia then stays same side. So obviously the wall will have taken more damage here, but you can use this as like one last reset, or if your opponent doesn't have burst, or if you don't really need positive bonus to get your own burst back, or that kind of thing. This is a pretty powerful option, but again, there's an enormous amount of permutations on this, but just understand the basic concept is you want to be at least +6 to beat people mashing throw. So pretty early into your combo, when you're near-ish the corner, you want to do a turbo fall capel at a certain height. And that way you can, you know, go into all this stuff if you want to. Yeah, you get the idea. Okay, and I think that should do it. Sorry that this is like so off the cuff and weirdly recorded, but it was just getting way too out of scope and I was burning myself out making a proper, you know, script version of this. So I hope this helped anyway, and thank you very much for watching.